All right, our next log is up on the mill. I'm going to be taking about an inch, I'm an inch down on that side. I got the log leveled up so that the pith is right in the middle of the log. The pith is actually a little bit offset, so it's not right in the middle this way, but it's a little bit over on this side. But I like it over on that side because that'll give me more quarter sawn material over here. When I get to that pith layer, I'm probably going to cut the pith right out, but I'll still have a reasonable piece on this side of the log. So let me get the Anaconda, the dust collector, fired up, and we'll make our first pass on this. So here's my conundrum. I'm an inch short, but I have reached the end of my rope. So I'm going to disconnect the pulley here and just kind of push through that last 3/4 of an inch to an inch just to get that off there. I'm going to have to cut this log off, I think, just a little bit. Cut an inch off it. Funny situation, but there you go. So a couple observations about that cut. One is I should have been down about a ½ inch lower than I am. I'll make a mental note that I want to dig a little bit deeper into the log just to get through the preservative that's put on the exterior of the log. The second thing is there's a lot of dust that still falls down in here, and I think I should try and do a better job of trying to catch that and get it into the dust collector, because the shop right now is just full of dust flying through the air. I've got my filter on in the shop, and I was using my respirator just to make sure that I'm not breathing a lot of that in. But yeah, a couple little challenges, little minor quirks to figure out, but we'll get there. So the log that I had been milling that you just saw, turns out it's not cedar at all. It is likely pine or spruce. I'm thinking it might be spruce, and it seems to have been treated chemically, permeating the entire log. I don't know if you noticed, if we go back and look at some of the video, you can see that, among other things, the saw was emitting kind of puffs of smoke as it was going through, like the blade. I'm getting a little bit of smoke coming through the blade. The blade wasn't hot per se, but I'm thinking it was reacting with the chemical, maybe heating up that chemical and burning off the chemical. Shop was just kind of filling up with smoke, and I realized something's wrong, so I stopped, cut the log off. And then I took a look at a slab that had come off the wood, and you can see what I have here. It's definitely not cedar. Yeah, I believe it might be spruce. So, yeah, I just stopped with that log. And also, even though that was a utility pole freshly cut, this wood is actually still damp, which means that this is a chemical has completely permeated this wood and left it with some strange coloration, among other things. So I'm going to abandon that log, not use it at all, and I've got a new cedar log put on the mill. And like with my previous cedar log, some serious cracking along the pith. So I'm going to come down here. We'll probably be able to salvage this portion of the pith, of this pith slice, and we'll get a couple more slices out of that. So back to stuff I know to be cedar. Just doing a little bit of an inspection after our last cut through the cedar here. And what I am noticing is that cutting through that spruce log, that chemically treated spruce log, really left the blade gummed up. So you can see all this stuff here. And kind of scrape that out. But all this gumming up here, like you can see in there, would really have affected the blade's ability to remove the dust chips, or the sawdust from the cut. So yeah, that was pretty gummy. I noticed on this last cut through this cedar log that I just put on the mill, that although I was going very slow, I did get a little bit of blade drift, and this is a brand new blade. Okay, I've made 2 cuts through that spruce log, but I wasn't expecting quite the drift that I got, because I was going relatively slow. But I think that this gumming up of the blade would have impacted the blade's ability to be as effective as it could be. Anyway, I'm just going to go clean out the rest of this. I may touch it up with the Dremel, just to touch up some of the tips. Well, I would do them all, but a very light touch on the tips. But yeah, that's gummy stuff. So out of that cedar log, I've got 3 nice boards that I can work with. The pith of this material was really spotty, so kind of this side of the piece is pretty much useless. But from here down, I should be able to get something out of that. Now, unfortunately, too, this piece wound up being cut very much like a wedge as I was flipping the log around. So much thicker on this end, but again, I'm just going to be taking off this much all the way down. Yeah, pretty much of a pie piece. So not really sure how much usable will come out of this piece at all. I'm sure I'll get something, but pleased with these pieces. So I'm just going to trim those up on the saw now and get something dimensional. So having cleaned up that wood through the table saw, we got some 4 good pieces of dimensional lumber and an interesting little wedge. This came out of the pith. It's a nice looking piece of wood, but not really sure what I'm going to get with it, or be able to use it rather. I'll cut off a little bit of the end of that. But anyway, got 4 good pieces out of that log. Not quite as much as I was hoping for, but you know, you live and you learn. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that.